Human helped the feverish alien girl cool down. Her people believed only a mate could survive that. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main character. Ethan Cole heard the temperature alarms before he smelled the heat shimmer rolling off the bulkhead like a furnace starting to breathe. The ion storm outside the survey outpost hammered the walls in steady pulses, each one rattling the metal grates under his boots. He muttered something under his breath, slinging his toolkit over his shoulder as the emergency lights flickered from white to a dull, urgent orange. The cooling conduits for the east wing were failing, and if they went completely offline, sensitive equipment would melt in minutes. But halfway down the corridor, another sound cut through the hum of machinery, the uneven, trembling breaths of someone struggling to stay conscious. Ethan rounded the corner and froze. A young alien woman sat slumped against the wall, her skin, normally a calm shade of silver violet, glowing too brightly, as if lit from within. Her hands pressed weakly against her chest, trying to steady her breathing. Heat rippled off her in soft waves, bending the air like a mirage on desert asphalt. She lifted her eyes to him, wide, luminous, and frightened. "Don't come closer," she whispered. Her voice shook, thin as a radio signal on its last bar. "My kind, we overheat during fever cycles. The temperature rise, it's dangerous for anyone near us." Ethan crouched slowly, ignoring the sting of heat licking at his forearms as if he'd opened an oven door. "Yeah. Dangerous or not, you look like you're about to pass out. Let me help." She blinked in disbelief. "Humans can't tolerate this. Only a bonded mate can stay near someone in my state." Ethan gave a small, unsure laugh. "Well, I'm definitely not that. But I'm the only one here, so that makes me your best chance." He pulled a cool gel patch from his kit, the kind used for thermal burns, and pressed it gently against the side of her neck. She gasped, not from pain, but from shock. Her skin glimmered beneath the gel, the glow dimming just a little. "What's your name?" he asked, keeping his tone soft. "Siri," she breathed. "You should have collapsed by now." Ethan shrugged. "Guess today's my lucky day." The air around her shimmered again, but this time the heat felt less hostile, more like standing near a sun-warmed stone. She leaned her head back against the wall, watching him with confusion and something close to awe. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan tightened the strap on another cooling patch and placed it near her shoulder, careful and steady. "Because you needed someone. That's enough for me." Outside, the storm boomed again, shaking dust from the ceiling. Inside, Siri exhaled a slow, cooling breath, her glow dimming to a gentle pulse as Ethan stayed by her side, refusing to step back even an inch. Ethan felt the temperature around Siri shift, the sharp heat smoothing into something more rhythmic, like standing beside a furnace that had finally stopped roaring. Her breathing steadied, but her skin still shimmered with an unsteady glow that made the air ripple. The outpost lights flickered again, dimming as another power surge rolled through the station. Ethan tapped the side of the climate panel with the back of his knuckle, feeling the metal pulse with trapped heat. "Cooling conduits are still overloaded," he said quietly, more to keep her awake than anything else. "We need to move you somewhere with stable airflow." Siri looked up at him as if he had just suggested climbing a mountain. "I cannot walk during a fever cycle," she whispered. "My muscles will not cooperate. My legs feel like they belong to someone else." Her voice had a soft grain to it, rough from the heat running through her. Ethan nodded slowly, thinking. He scanned the hall, spotting the portable cooling chamber at the far end, a thick-walled pod used for equipment that overheated. It was not meant for people, but it ran on its own power cell. It would buy her time. "All right," he said, adjusting the straps on her cooling patches, making sure the gel adhered to her skin. "I am going to help you get to that chamber. You can lean on me. I will take it slow." She blinked, clearly overwhelmed. "Ethan, your body should not tolerate prolonged exposure to my temperature. Humans react badly. You should not risk it." He gave her a half smile. "I hear that a lot today." When he slipped an arm around her back to lift her gently, her glow pulsed brighter for a moment, warm enough that his skin tingled through the fabric of his jacket. Not painful, but surprising, like stepping into sunlit water. Sairi stiffened, expecting him to recoil. When he did not, her expression softened in a way that caught him off guard. "You should feel dizzy by now," she murmured. "You should not be this close to me." "I am fine," Ethan said, though his heartbeat did pick up as the heat pressed against him like a soft, steady current. He shifted his weight and helped her stand, her hand gripping his forearm with surprising delicacy. Each step sent a wave of warmth rolling up his side, but he kept his gait steady, guiding her down the corridor. The storm outside groaned against the station walls, the metal frame vibrating like a plucked string. Sairi leaned closer, her breath a faint shimmer of heat against his shoulder. "My people would not believe this," she said quietly. "They would say you should have collapsed long ago." "Guess nobody told my body that," Ethan replied. As they approached the cooling chamber, a gust of colder air seeped from the vent above, brushing across her skin and dimming the brightness of her glow. She shivered lightly, but this time from relief. Ethan keyed the control panel, and the chamber door lifted with a soft hiss. "Almost there," he said. "Just a few more steps." Sairi looked at him with wide, steady eyes. "I do not understand how you are still standing," she whispered. Ethan helped her inside, guiding her carefully. "Maybe I just do better under pressure," he said. But deep down, he felt something else, a quiet certainty that whatever was happening between them, it was not just biology. It was something far more unexpected. The cooling chamber hummed softly as Ethan adjusted the settings, watching the faint mist settle around Sairi like a thin veil of moonlit fog. The interior lights cast a cool blue glow over her silver-violet skin, making the earlier heat shimmer look distant, almost like something imagined in the middle of a fever dream. She sat with her back supported by the padded wall. Her eyes half-lidded but alert enough to track his movements. "You should step back," she murmured. "Your body must be reacting by now. Even standing this close should feel overwhelming." Ethan lifted one shoulder in a small shrug, keeping his focus on the temperature readout. "I feel warm, sure. But I am not passing out. That counts for something." Her brows tilted slightly, her version of disbelief. "This is not normal. Humans cannot tolerate direct proximity during our fever cycles. The pheromone pressure alone should make you lightheaded." Ethan paused, squinting at the panel. "Well, maybe I am just built different." Sairi studied his face for a long moment. Her glow had softened to a steady pulse that made the chamber's mist swirl gently with every breath she took. The heat was not sharp anymore, just a subtle warmth that radiated from her like a living ember. "My people believe fever cycles exist to test compatibility," she said quietly. "Only a bonded mate can stabilize someone going through it. The body mirrors the other person's resistance. If they are compatible, they both survive. If not," she trailed off, then shook her head lightly. "It does not matter. You are not one of my people." Ethan leaned against the chamber frame, careful to keep his posture relaxed. "You keep saying that, but I am still standing here. So whatever your people expect, maybe the universe did not get the message." A soft sound escaped her, not quite a laugh, but close. She pressed her palm to the padded surface beside her, grounding herself. "You have an unusual steadiness, Ethan Cole. You do not push away, even when you should. You do not look afraid." "Fear is not really my first instinct," he said. "Fixing things is." A faint change crossed her expression, something gentle and surprised. "You think you are fixing me?" "No," he said. "I think I am helping someone who is going through something tough. That is all." Outside, the storm rumbled again, a deep vibration that traveled through the outpost walls and into the chamber floor. The lights flickered, and Ethan steadied himself instinctively, one hand brushing the side rail. Sairi's gaze followed the motion with quiet focus. "When you touched me earlier," she said, "my fever should have spiked high enough to make you step back. It did not. That is unusual." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Maybe it is just because I am not panicking." She considered that, then nodded once, as if storing the answer away to examine later. The cooling mist thickened briefly before settling again, and her glow dimmed to almost normal levels. "Ethan," she whispered, "you should know, whatever happens next, my people will not understand this. they will not understand you. Ethan met her eyes, steady and calm. Good thing I am not doing this for them. For the first time since he found her, Cyrie's posture eased completely, her shoulders relaxing as if she had been holding herself rigid for hours. The heat pulse around her faded into the faintest warmth, drifting between them like a quiet breath, and for a moment, the storm outside felt far away. The storm outside the outpost weakened just enough for the lights to steady, leaving the hall washed in a pale glow that cooled the air by a few degrees. Ethan watched the temperature reading on the cooling chamber as it inched downward, slow but steady, like a stubborn gauge resisting gravity. Cyrie's glow had settled into a soft violet pulse, far gentler than before, yet he could still feel faint threads of warmth drifting from her whenever she exhaled. How long does a fever cycle usually last? Ethan asked, keeping his voice low, as if anything louder might unsettle the fragile balance inside the chamber. Cyrie lifted her eyes. It varies. Most endure it for an entire day. Some longer. It depends on how well their body is supported. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, thoughtful. You have shortened mine already. That should not be possible. Ethan leaned his shoulder against the chamber frame, pretending to inspect the mist dispersal vents. Maybe your species underestimated humans, he said lightly. We are not as fragile as people think. A soft hum escaped her, almost a sigh. Fragile is not the word I would use anymore. For a while, there was only the sound of the chamber cycling cool air, the rhythm steady and calming. Ethan let himself breathe in sync with it. But then he noticed her posture shift. Her fingers curled slightly against the pad beneath her, her glow flickering unevenly. It was subtle, but it was enough to send a prickle of concern up his spine. Talk to me, he said gently. What is happening? The fever is stabilizing, she said, but the pheromone. Pressure rises before it falls. My body is testing the bond it believes is present. She looked away, embarrassed. You will feel warmth. Maybe dizziness. It is not harmful, just instinct-based. Ethan waited a beat, testing himself. His heartbeat was steady. His head clear. Only the faintest warmth brushed at his chest, like stepping near a kitchen oven that had been left on low. I am okay, he said. Really? Cyrie's eyes softened with a fragile sort of relief. You should not be. The lights inside the chamber shifted toward a cooler spectrum, causing the mist to thicken into swirling ribbons that traced the edges of her silhouette. Ethan reached for the control panel again and adjusted the airflow, coaxing another few degrees of cooling into the chamber. Better, he asked. She nodded slowly, her shoulders relaxing as the glow dimmed. Your presence, it stabilizes the cycle. I do not understand it, but I can feel it. My body responds to you as if it recognizes something familiar. Ethan exhaled, quiet and steady. Maybe it is just because I am here, and I care about what happens to you. Her eyes lifted toward him again, and this time there was no confusion in them, only a quiet, searching awareness. Ethan, she said softly, my people consider the bond a sacred thing. It is not something that happens by accident. I know, he answered. But right now, all I am trying to do is get you through this. Another pulse of cool air drifted through the chamber, scattering the mist like drifting feathers. Cyrie let her head rest lightly against the padded wall. Her glow steadied into a calm rhythm, almost matching Ethan's own breathing. You are unlike anyone I have ever met, she whispered. Ethan gave a small, almost shy smile. I get that sometimes. Iller's ion storm had nearly faded now, leaving only the steady hum of the outpost's generators and the soft whisper of recycled air drifting through the vents. With the worst of the chaos behind them, a quiet settled over the corridor outside the cooling chamber, the kind of quiet that made even small movements feel louder than they were. Ethan stayed exactly where he was, leaning one shoulder against the frame while keeping his eyes on Cyrie. Her glow had gentled into a calm violet, almost the same shade as the stars he sometimes saw. On night shifts when the sky was clear. A pulse of cool mist drifted around her with each cycle of the chamber, soft and delicate like the fog that rolls over a lake at dawn. How are you feeling now? Ethan asked, his tone warm but careful. He did not want to break the moment. Cyrie's eyes followed the slow motion of the mist before returning to his face. Lighter, she said. The fever has stopped climbing. It feels as if a weight has finally been lifted. She paused, sensing something deeper. Your presence continues to calm the last of the pressure. I do not know how to explain it. Ethan gave a small laugh, rubbing the back of his neck in a bashful gesture. I do not know if this is comforting or surprising, but I do not understand any of this either. She tilted her head, studying him as if he were the unfamiliar one. You are not afraid, she said. Most would be overwhelmed by the heat, or the pheromone pressure. Yet you stand there as if nothing is wrong. Ethan shrugged gently. Fear would not help you. And besides, you are not scary. Her expression shifted, almost fragile. My people believe our fever season is the most dangerous time to be near us. They isolate the afflicted to protect others. Being here with me, it breaks every rule. Sometimes rules need to be broken, Ethan said, adjusting one of the chamber settings. Especially when those rules leave someone alone. The mist curled around her again, and she lifted her hand, palm open, as if feeling its coolness. The movement was slow and thoughtful, like she had only recently remembered she had control of her limbs again. Ethan, she said, if your body is reacting at all, you must tell me. My people believe the pressure shapes itself around both individuals. If you feel warmth or lightheadedness, we must adjust the environment. Ethan tested himself again, quietly. His pulse was normal. His breath steady. Only a soft warmth lingered near his chest, more like standing close to a fireplace on a winter evening than anything dangerous. I promise, I am fine, he said. Whatever effect your pheromones should have, they do not seem to be hitting me the way your people expect them to. Cyrie's eyes softened. You say that with such certainty. I say it because it is true, Ethan replied. Another quiet moment stretched between them, unhurried. The storm had left the air crisp, and the outpost's lights cast long reflections across the chamber's curved surface. Cyrie let her head rest lightly against the padded wall, her glow steady and even. When this is over, she whispered, I want to understand why your presence changes my cycle, and why my body responds to yours as if you are familiar. Ethan smiled at her gently. Then we will figure it out together. Iller's storm had fully passed now, leaving the outpost wrapped in an almost unnatural hush, as if the entire structure were holding its breath. The cooling chamber's soft hum filled the quiet, steady and reassuring, like the low thrum of a familiar engine. Ethan stayed close, monitoring the temperature on the panel. The numbers were finally leveling out, no longer climbing or dipping unpredictably. Cyrie's glow had softened into a gentle pulse that illuminated the mist around her in thin, shimmering ribbons. Her breathing was even, and the strain he had seen in her earlier was fading, replaced by a calm he had not expected to see so soon. Your body is steady again, Ethan said, checking the final cycle indicators. A few more minutes and you should be safe to step out. Cyrie watched him through the clear chamber door, her expression thoughtful, almost searching. You speak as if this is normal for you, she said softly. Helping someone through a fever cycle is no small task. It is considered an act of deep trust and deeper risk. Ethan gave a light shrug. I am not thinking about trust or risk. I am thinking about you needing help, and me being here to give it. Her eyes lingered on him, warm and analyzing. Humans are direct, she murmured. And unpredictable. Ethan chuckled under his breath. That is what people say. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The chamber's mist thickened one last time, then thinned as the system began its final cooldown phase. Cyrie shifted slightly, testing her limbs. Her fingertips brushed the padded surface, steady and controlled. My strength is returning, she said. That should not happen this quickly. Ethan tapped the screen lightly. Maybe your body reacts better to support than isolation. She tilted her head, considering that with quiet sincerity. Perhaps. But it is still strange. My people evolve strict rules. Around fever cycles. We avoid contact because our bodies become unpredictable, and our instincts take control. The presence of another person should make the cycle harder, not easier. Ethan leaned closer, curiosity threading into his voice. So why am I helping instead of making it worse? Cyrie's glow brightened faintly, not from heat but from recognition of the question she had been avoiding. Because my body believes you are compatible, she said slowly. Not in a romantic sense. In a biological one. It responds to your presence as if your energy stabilizes mine. Ethan raised an eyebrow, but his tone stayed gentle. Is that dangerous? No, she answered. Just rare. Extremely rare. She lifted a hand to the clear panel, fingers splayed against the cool surface. Ethan's gaze followed the movement, not startled, just attentive. Ethan, she said quietly, I want to ask something, and I need an honest answer. When you are near me, do you truly feel nothing unusual? No dizziness. No pressure. No heat that makes you want to step away. Ethan tested himself once more, letting the question settle. He felt warm, yes, but comfortably so. No dizziness, no disorientation. Just a quiet pull, subtle as a magnetic field. I feel fine, he said. And I mean that. Whatever effect your body should have, it is not overwhelming me. Sci-fi exhaled a soft breath, relief and confusion intertwined. Then the compatibility is real. My people will not understand this. To them, it would mean something profound. Ethan met her gaze through the chamber door. It means you are safe, he said. That is what matters to me. And for the first time since the fever began, Sci-fi smiled, small, unsteady, but real, glowing softly against the cool mist as if the universe had given her a moment of stillness she had never expected. The final cooling cycle eased into a soft idle, and the chamber lights shifted to a gentle white, signaling that Sci-fi's body temperature had stabilized. Ethan unlocked the chamber with a slow, careful motion, as if anything sudden might undo the fragile equilibrium they had achieved. The door rose with a quiet hiss, releasing a faint swirl of cooled mist that drifted across the floor like a thin ribbon of smoke. Sci-fi stepped forward, steady but cautious, her movements deliberate as she adjusted to the ambient air. The glow on her skin had settled into a calm, muted violet, more like a natural bioluminescence than the fever heat that had threatened her only hours earlier. How do you feel? Ethan asked, watching for any sign of strain. She paused, letting the air move over her arms and across her shoulders. Balanced, she said. Clear. My mind feels as if it has finally returned to me. Ethan offered his hand, not assuming she needed help, but letting the gesture exist if she wanted it. After a moment of quiet consideration, she placed her palm against his. Her skin was cool now, softer than he expected, with only a faint warmth beneath the surface. You truly anchored the cycle, she said, almost in wonder. My people will think this is impossible. Ethan gave a small smile. That seems to be a pattern today. But the calm moment did not last. A low chime rang through the outpost, the kind that signaled incoming transmission traffic. Ethan's expression shifted. Communications are back online, he said. That means your people might be trying to reach you. Sci-fi's glow dimmed slightly, not from illness, but from apprehension. If they detect my condition, they will come quickly. They do not leave those in fever cycle unattended. And if they scan my vitals and see how stabilized I am, they will assume a bond was formed. Ethan's breath caught, just for a second. But we did not, she shook her head softly. A bond is not defined by intention. It is defined by biological compatibility. And from their perspective, survival through a fever cycle with another person present is the strongest indicator. The transmission chime sounded again, louder this time, echoing down the corridor. Ethan glanced toward the central console at the end of the hall. We should answer that, he said gently. Maybe we can explain what happened. Sci-fi stepped closer, her voice lower, edged with the weight of what she knew he did not yet understand. Ethan, my people do not reason through fever bond outcomes. They honor them. They recognize them. They protect them. Her gaze held his, steady and sincere. If they believe you stabilized me, they will treat you as someone bound to me. Ethan blinked, absorbing the meaning behind her words. Is that a problem? Sci-fi hesitated, her glow flickering faintly as emotion moved through her. For you. Potentially. For me, she exhaled slowly. For me, it means everything changes. The transmission chime sounded a third time, insistent now, vibrating through the metal walls. Sci-fi looked toward the console, then back at Ethan, as if choosing which world to step toward. Whatever happens next, she whispered, my people will see you not as a stranger, but as the one who stood beside me when no one else could. Ethan nodded once, steady and sure. Then let us meet them together. The transmission console flickered with a faint blue glow as Ethan and Sci-fi approached, their footsteps soft against the metal floor. The air felt heavier now, not from heat but from anticipation, as if the outpost itself understood that whatever waited on the other end of the signal would change the balance between them. Cyree paused a step behind him, her glow dim but steady, the kind of calm that hides a deeper current beneath the surface. Ethan glanced back at her. "Ready?" he asked. She exhaled slowly. As ready as anyone can be when their entire future may be waiting on the other side of a screen. Ethan tapped the console. The display sharpened, revealing 3 figures with silver-violet skin and luminous markings that seemed etched into their faces. Their attire was ceremonial, layered with soft metallic fabrics that shimmered like liquid starlight. Their posture was formal and unyielding, and even through the screen, their presence felt commanding. The figure in the center stepped forward. "We are the Virathi delegation. Identify the individual attending Cyree during her fever cycle." Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but Cyree moved forward gently, placing a hand on the console. "It is I, Cyree of House Iloren," she said, her voice composed. "And the one beside me is Ethan Cole of Earth." The delegation exchanged glances, silent, but filled with meaning. The central envoy leaned closer. "Your vitals indicate a stabilized fever. This is unusual." Cyree lifted her chin with quiet strength. "The cycle completed early. Ethan assisted me." A pulse of color moved across the envoy's facial markings, a subtle shift that Ethan guessed was their version of surprise. "Assisted," the envoy repeated, tasting the word as if it carried more weight than he understood. Another envoy, taller and sharper-featured, stepped forward. "Human Ethan Cole," she said. "Approach the screen." Ethan straightened, moving within their view. The envoy studied him, her gaze precise. "You remained in proximity to Cyree during full fever cycle?" Ethan nodded. "Once." "Yes." She needed help. A flicker of violet light rippled through the delegation, their equivalent of a gasp. The central envoy spoke again, voice almost reverent. "Only a bonded mate can endure pheromone pressure without collapse. And yet you stand unharmed." Ethan felt Cyree shift subtly at his side, her glow deepening with the weight of their words. He looked to her, but she did not look away from the screen. "Ethan stabilized my cycle," she said. "His presence anchored me. The readings you see are the result of compatibility." The envoy bowed his head slightly, a gesture both respectful and solemn. "Then the bond is acknowledged." Ethan blinked. "Hold on," he said gently. "We did not make any kind of commitment. I just helped someone who needed help." The envoy spoke with calm certainty. "Intent is irrelevant. Biology has spoken." Cyree finally looked at Ethan, her expression soft but threaded with a quiet vulnerability. "This is what I meant," she whispered. "My people honor bonds formed under life-threatening cycles. They do not question them. They recognize them." The third envoy spoke, her tone gentle but firm. "Ethan Cole of Earth, you are not viewed as an intruder. You are viewed as one who chose to stand beside one of ours when she was most vulnerable. For the Virathi, this is a sacred act." Ethan absorbed the words slowly. The envoy continued, "We are en route to your location. Prepare for our arrival." The transmission faded, leaving only the hum of the console and the quiet weight of what had just unfolded. Cyree turned to Ethan, her glow a soft, searching violet. "Your life is about to change," she whispered. Ethan met her gaze, steady and grounded. "So is yours." And in the quiet that followed, neither stepped away. The outpost's landing pad vibrated with a low, steady tremor as the Virathi vessel descended, its silver hull catching the pale light of Iller's thinning storm clouds. Ethan stood beside Cyree near the wide observation window, watching the craft settle with smooth precision. The air inside the outpost felt cooler now, anchored by the quiet calm that had settled between them since the transmission. Cyree's glow remained soft, almost reflective, casting faint violet highlights across the polished floor. "They arrived faster than I expected," Ethan said, his voice low. Cyree nodded. "Feverbond matters are never delayed. They are treated with seriousness, even reverence." She paused, her eyes shifting to him with a mix of gratitude and apprehension. "Ethan, they will look at you differently than you look at yourself. You helped me survive something that should have overwhelmed you. That means something to them." And whether you accept it or not, it means something to me. Before he could answer, the outpost doors slid open with a soft hiss. A trio of Varathi envoys stepped inside, their ceremonial attire shimmering like starlit water. The air seemed to change around them, taking on a faint metallic scent, subtle but distinct. The central envoy approached, his expression calm, respectful. His gaze moved between Ethan and Ciri, reading the unspoken bond with a subtle tilt of his head. "Ciri of House Iloren," he said gently, "your cycle is complete. Your vitals confirm total stabilization." Ciri bowed her head slightly. Ethan anchored the final phase. "I would not be standing here without him." The envoy turned his attention fully to Ethan. His voice softened. "Human Ethan Cole, few outside our species can withstand the pheromone pressure of a fever cycle. To not only endure it, but support one of ours through the full duration, this is remarkable." Ethan shifted, wanting to keep the moment grounded. "I was just doing what anybody would do," he said. "She needed help." The envoy held his gaze. Many would have walked away. A quiet settled over the room, not heavy, but profound. The second envoy stepped forward, her glow brightening. "The bond does not require acceptance to exist," she said. "It forms when two lives align in a moment where survival depends on connection." Ciri looked at Ethan with a soft honesty that carried the weight of everything unspoken between them. "But acceptance decides what we do with it," she said. The envoys waited silently, allowing the moment to belong to the two who had lived it. Ethan took a slow breath, the kind you take when stepping into a choice that feels both unexpected and strangely right. His voice was quiet, but steady. "Whatever your people call this bond, I am not afraid of it. And I am not stepping away from what happened." Ciri's glow warmed, faint but unmistakably hopeful, as if something inside her finally settled into place. The central envoy inclined his head in acknowledgement, his tone carrying a sense of ceremony. "Then let this moment be witnessed," he said. "A cycle survived. A bond recognized. Two lives joined not by tradition but by choice in the face of fear." Ethan stood beside Ciri as the vessel's lights reflected across the room, their silhouettes touching in the glass like two stars drawn into the same orbit, quiet and inevitable. And in the silence that followed, nothing more needed to be said.